If you're trying to heal an imbalance Ayurvedically, then in today's episode, we are going to cover one of the most fundamental principles of Ayurveda that will help your healing progress. Hi, this is Zia and this is
Kamana, and welcome to Holistic Nomads TV,
where ancient wisdom and modern science can help you to have more clarity and energy in your life. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that this is one of the most fundamental principles when it comes to healing, and that principle is called Vikriti, which then related with the dosha. And I think this is one of the most important class, and I'm surprised that we didn't do it earlier because, it's very basic. So can you explain a little bit more what is Vikriti and what's the difference with Prakruti, which is the birth constitution that we already mentioned a lot?
Yeah. So Vikriti is our present imbalance, and to some degree we have explained it a little bit in a previous class on the doshas. We talk about this relationship between Prakruti and Vikriti. Vikriti as our present ratio of the doshas, disease-forming influences, doshas are, inside our body, and Prakruti as our constitutional birth nature. So in one of the previous classes I was teaching in Indonesia, and you can see a graph that's used there, and this bar graph enables you to see what Prakruti was, birth constitution, formed at conception, somewhat like genetics. So my birth constitution, my Prakruti, is Pitta and Vata as the dominant ones. Pitta and Vata being dominant in my birth constitution, my Prakruti, means that may go out of balance the easiest over my life. Pitta type things, alcohol, really don't serve me well. Vata type things, excess legumes, staying up late, really don't serve me well. They can aggravate my body much quicker because those doshas are already dominant in my birth constitution. Vikriti, however, what this class is about, is looking at what is the present ratio of the doshas that are caught in my system now. And basically, Ayurveda says doshas come through the body through time, season, place, and individual. We look at how those things are influencing us and what gets caught in the body along the way. So time, season, place, and individual. What's the time of day? If we experience excess of a certain time of day, then we're going to build up that dosha easier. If we experience excess of a certain climate, environmental season, then that's going to build up that dosha quicker. Like living in the tropics will build up pitta more. If we stay up late at night between 10 and 2, it will build up pitta more. We're not resting at the time of night that's associated with balancing that pitta. If we stay up early in the morning, 2 to 6 a.m., and we stay up in the afternoon, 2 to 6 p.m., and we're awake during those times, we're more likely to accumulate excess vata. And then place. Are we in an environment where it's very windy up on the top of the mountain? More vata that's in that environment. Are we in an environment that's a desert, that's hot, working next to a furnace all the time? More pitta that's in that environment. And then thirdly, the individual. What is happening inside our mind? What foods are we exposing ourselves to inside our body? All of these things have a dosha, a disease influence. And the Vikriti, what we're looking at in this class, is how much of that dosha, not have you been exposed to, but how much of that dosha has been caught in the system. Hasn't moved through you in a nice way like a channel, a tube, because that's ideally what our body should be like, a beautiful plumbing system that moves the doshas through us, that takes the best of it, makes them into good healthy tissues, and doesn't necessarily get caught with this dosha that then starts to influence and create disease in the body. So Vikriti, excess of it, will create disease. And just like Prakruti could come in 7 different types, so too Vikriti could come in 7 different types. You could have excess vata creating disease just by itself, vata. Excess pitta creating disease just by itself, pitta. Excess kapha creating disease just by itself. And then you could get a mix of vata and pitta together creating disease. Pitta and kapha together creating a disease. Pitta and vata together creating disease. And the seventh one, all three doshas are excessive in the body and creating disease. And this is normally what happens with cancer. Cancer is a movement problem, a vata problem, a transformation problem, a pitta problem, and a cohesion, holding together problem, a kapha problem. All three of these doshas have become excessive. Normally there's been nervous system stress that's created the movement problem, some form of dietary, digestive stress, bacterial imbalance, and some form of cohesion, excess accumulation of physical byproducts that's created the tumor and the growth problem. So all of these three join together to create very extreme diseases. So we're not looking at Vikriti, oh, I've got extra kapha Vikriti, that means Vata's going to go down. No, all of them could build up together. We're looking at which qualities, which dosha is excess in this person now, and that is Vikriti.
There's an analogy that I often say to people when it comes to understanding what's the difference between Prakruti and Vikriti. So for instance, we have a car.
Yep.
And every one of us in this world, we have a direction that we need to go. So that car is unique to us with the vehicle. In this case, this is my vehicle. Let's say with analogy, we have a cars. And then through time, season, and place, and the individual, this ideal car that was designed at the beginning to go towards that certain goal changes. So for example, we go through the tropics because of this excess sun. It creates changes in the paints, or it creates excessive heat in the machine and stuff like that. And then let's say the fuel, the food that we give to our vehicle changes. Let's say we don't have the right money, enough money to like buy the best one that is actually good for us. Instead we buy the cheap one. And then also time, season, and then through season it changes over time too, like it affects our vehicle. So Vikruti is all of those things basically that changes how was the ideal car, the vehicle that we had in the first place, and then what changes it, and then that then creates imbalance because probably it creates our vehicle breaks down easily. It becomes slow for us to reach our goals. So in summary is, I think through this analogy, when I try to explain to people, Vikriti is the non-ideal, isn't it? Non-ideal state for our vehicle, for our body in this world, because we need a specific direction to go. And because of that imbalance, it made us unable to fully perform the things that we're meant to do in this world. So in the end, Ayurveda help us to notice where are we. Is there any Vikriti state right now? Is there any imbalance? And through Ayurveda, then we can help how we can bring back to the ideal state of our health.
Yeah, I really like this car analogy because it's so specific to life. You know, and if you've got an off-road four-wheel drive vehicle or you've got a Ferrari, they're very different vehicles. They need to be treated in different ways. They're designed for different purposes. If you try to take the Ferrari off-road, it's going to be a disaster for you. If you try to take the four-wheel drive onto the racetrack, it's really not going to perform well. The four-wheel drive truck is a diesel and needs a different fuel inside of it. The Ferrari needs high-octane petrol and needs a different fuel inside of it. So we really need to look at what is your vehicle. And Prakruti, explained in other classes, and you can get our Prakruti test online, is what is your vehicle? What are you born with? You can't really change it that much. You can make a few little modifications, but the four-wheel drive truck will always be a four-wheel drive truck. The Ferrari will always be a Ferrari. And the Vikriti, which we're explaining in this class, is what has happened to your vehicle over its life. And Ayurveda explains this Vikriti through 6 stages. Through 6 stages of disease, they look at how has the Vikriti progressed. And here I'm going to give a summary of what the 6 stages are. I'm pretty sure we've covered the 6 stages in one of the other classes.
6 stages of disease?
6 stages of disease, yeah. So we'll link that up in the notes below, is the 6 stages of disease. And it outlines this progress of where we just expose ourselves to the dosha, accumulation, a bit excess of that dosha, and it starts to go through what Ayurveda refers to as the seats of the dosha. So Kapha's seat is up in the chest, the stomach, the lungs up here. Pitta's seat is the small intestine, the lower part of the stomach. And Vata's seat is the colon. So first we'll get minute signs and symptoms that will happen there. Maybe a little bit of a mucus or a little bit of an itch in the nose. That could be kapha accumulation. Maybe a little bit of heat in the belly that's going on. Maybe a little bit of gas in the colon. These would just be early signs of accumulation. So let's take it. Eat a little bit of dairy. Oh, you get a little bit of a nasal itch and you get a tiny bit of mucus. That's stage 1. You have the ability to start balancing that Vikriti, that aggravated kapha dosha, instantly at stage 1. Or it could be a bit of chili. You eat some chili and that goes into the belly and that creates a bit of heat in the small intestine. That's stage 1. You're able to balance that pitta straight away at stage 1. Or you're eating a little bit of some beans and legumes and that goes into the colon and that's going to create some gas for you. That's stage 1. You can balance it straight away at stage 1.
Which is why this early stage of symptom is very important to know, so that, especially from my personal experience, I found that as a key to self-heal myself, because it's much easier when I recognize, realize that early sign of imbalance before it's even become a cancer, like you said. That's why on our channel we have many of the videos when it comes to like the early sign of imbalance, like fat, like what else do we have already? Was it burp? Do we cover burp? No, we haven't covered burp, but it will coming, and then dandruff even. Some people don't even recognize that all of those things is actually part of imbalance, and mucus, like you said.
Sneezing. We did sneezing, yeah.
We did sneezing?
Didn't we?
I don't know. There's so many videos.
I've taught them in so many classes, so I'm not sure what I've taught on YouTube and what I've taught in class. Yeah.
But yeah, all of that, whether we already cover it or we're going to cover it.
In the future, these early stage signs and symptoms are, like Zia said, they're a notification from your body that is notifying you, oh, something is out of balance. And it's in these early stages of disease, particularly stages 1, 2, and 3, where the signs and symptoms are quite easy to balance and get back in a good direction again. The Vikriti at this stage hasn't yet settled into the tissues. So stage 1, accumulation, stage 2, aggravation, stage 3, spread. It's at that point that it spreads from the digestive tract and starts to invade the rest of the body. At stage 1, 2, and 3, it's quite easy to treat with general lifestyle, maybe a few dietary changes. You can do the treatment at home yourself and doesn't really need so much guidance and supervision. Whereas once it moves into stage 4, 5, and 6, it becomes much more complex. In stage 4, it relocates the dosha from our environment through our digestive system, has now moved into the tissues and it starts to become stuck with the tissues. At stage 4, it starts to change the function of the tissue, and at stage 5, it changes the function so much that now we can label it as a disease. We can go, oh, this person has tendinitis, inflammation of the tendon. The pitta has moved through the blood and settled in the tendon and now makes it really easy for the tendon to inflame. Sure, you may have done some action that inflamed it, but why, when you were in your younger years, did that same action never cause a problem? Because now the dosha had settled in the tissue. Now that action had an innate cause that abled it to make the inflammation in the tissue. So the doshas are the root causes here. The fact that we did a fast pitta movement that aggravated the inflammation was just another pitta contributor to what had already built up inside our body. It had already moved through these stages for that trigger to actually do anything in the body. The trigger needed to have a fertile ground in order for it to take off and present as something. So in stage 5, we can label diseases. This is where most modern medical doctors will now detect a disease, stage 5. These early stage signs and symptoms that are used in Ayurveda will rarely be treated properly with some form of holistic understanding to balance the body yourself. Stage 6 represents complete disintegration of the tissue. It's no longer functioning as the tissue is meant to function, skin to protect the body. In Ayurveda, we call this mamsa. You know, it's the solid tissues of the body that are associated with muscle. They create a protective layer around things. The fat is no longer lubricating and storing nourishment inside it. The brain and the nervous system is no longer transmitting signals. Now, they just behave like the dosha. The skin has got excess pitta, so it's hot, it's spreading, it's aggravated, and it's got this irritation. These are the qualities associated with pitta. Maybe the fat is invaded with kapha, so it's growing, it's expanding, it's turning into little lumps, it's becoming flabby and soft, and it's making our body heavy and lethargic. The nervous system gets invaded with vata, erratic impulses, we're forgetting things, it's changeable, it's dynamic, it's become cold and dry, it gets worse in the winter, all the qualities associated with vata. So here in these later stages of Vikriti, stages 4, 5 and 6, the dosha is affecting the tissues of the body, making it very easy for any tiny little amount of vata, pitta or kapha in the environment to trigger off a response inside our body. If the disease is stage 4, 5 and 6, then it really needs to be dealt with a practitioner. They need to look in detail at not only which dosha is aggravated, but where in the body, in which tissue has the dosha settled. How can we use treatments that are specific to move the dosha out of that tissue, to free it from its bonding with the tissue? If there's pitta stuck in the tendon, we need to get it out of the tendon. We need to use something that's going to free it from that area and move it back towards its elimination sites. And then depending on what needs to be moved out, sometimes we take purgatives and other things to cleanse it out of the system. If we're taking it in this more extreme treatment way, Ayurveda refers to it as panchakarma or detox systems, and these detox systems are designed to move the stages, move the doshas from these later stages back towards the digestive system and then purge them out of the system, and it really needs to be supervised and guided, that specific process.
So then the question is how we, especially our audience here, can know what is their Vikruti.
There's a few different ways. The simple way to figure out which dosha is in Vikruti is with a test. There's a test that we've created for the school, Ayurvedic, and you can download that test in the show notes below. And in that test, you'll have a look and see what is your dominant dosha now. And you need to answer the questions based on what's been prevalent in the last week. So you can tick things that have been in the last week. This is the most important thing for me. And just tick the boxes that are most associated with what you've been experiencing in the last week. Now, in regards to the Vikriti test, you don't necessarily need to have a box ticked for every column. Let's say the box is talking about digestive tendencies, and vata, it's saying causes gas and lots of noises. In pitta, it's saying there's excess heat, burning sensations and a loose stool. In kapha, it's saying a very thick stool and some mucus in the stool. You don't need to tick any of those boxes because maybe you don't have an imbalance in any of those areas. And you could be ticking all of those boxes. You could be having lots of gas, burning, diarrhea and mucus in the stool. And it's going to show that all three doshas are in excess and they're affecting the digestive system the most. So you can use that test as your best entry level. This is really what we want to look at with these YouTube classes, is how can you straight away start to get some value out of this class and apply it to your life. Whichever dosha is showing the dominance there, you can start to treat at home with some lifestyle therapies and some general diet therapies. Now, if for any reason you're a little bit, maybe consult a practitioner, still you could create challenges with lifestyle and diet. Yet if you want to move on to herbal medicine, detox therapies, those other things, you definitely need to be working with a practitioner in this regard. There's lots of great practitioners around the world for Ayurveda. It's very popular. So find a good one local to you. You may be able to find one in the Ayurvedic directory, or put your email in for the waiting list with me, and we can work together to find out which stage of Vikriti you're at. Now, this is more advanced. It's not something you can so easily do at home. You may be able to look at the class on the 6 stages of disease and figure out, I'm in stage 1 to 3. I'm going to be able to do it at home quite easily. Or it's a more serious condition. I may need a panchakarma, a specific detox process.
So lastly, I would like to emphasize that this concept of Vikruti is crucial when it comes to self-healing, and I believe many of our audience here, if you watch this video, if you subscribe to our channel, I knew that you would want to heal something in your life. You will want to move towards something. You want to have more amazingness in your life. And this is one of the most important key for you to understand so that you can have more freedom, more control in your life. Make sure to download the Vikriti quiz. It's on the caption below. There's a link, put your name and email, and you will receive the Vikriti quiz right on your inbox. Anything else you would like to add?
Great to share with you as always. I really appreciate everyone watching and listening, and I hope that if you've gained something out of it, you too share this with the world. It's really our dream to help educate the world because we know awareness is the key to change. So keep sharing that awareness with others. I hope you teach and learn through teaching. All the best until next time. If you'd like to help others heal, or just wishing to have more control in your own self-care, then check out the programs I've co-created on Ayurvedic.com. I've brought together some of the world's best health experts teaching people what I consider to be the 6 most important branches of holistic healing. I hope to share with you in person there in the future, and I hope that you too share this wisdom with the world. All the best.
Now, theory without practice is wasteful because hearing leads to forgetting, teaching leads to remembering, and applying leads to mastering. That's why we will encourage you to leave a comment below and share one learning insight from this video. Also, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you will be the first to hear about our future educational videos. And for more resources on health and healing, check out our website holisticnomads.com. There you will find articles, quizzes on Ayurveda, loads of free downloads, and of course, our future events and courses. Thank you so much for watching. We hope it's been beneficial for you. Hope to see you next week. Bye!
That was the ring.